All right, guys, so we'll go ahead and get finished up with our notes here on 8.6, which is factoring trinomials that don't, where the lead coefficient is anything other than 1. We kind of, some big stuff we said yesterday. One difference between this and how we think of trinomials that do start with 1 is we think about what adds to B and what multiplies to A times C, not just multiplies to C. So A times C, that was a big difference. And then there is no shortcut on these. You have to do the factoring by grouping part. Yes? Sure. Anyways, this will be a good reminder of kind of what we did yesterday. Some of you have already started the Math Excel, so you're a little bit ahead of other people, and that's great. All right. So I'll show you how the book tells you to do it first, and then we'll go. I'll show you the other way too, because we don't always. Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So how the book would have you do this is they would say if there's a GCF for all 3 terms to begin with, you should always factor that out first. And I don't think that's bad advice. Sometimes we just wouldn't notice it, okay? But if you do notice it, like on A, before we do 18 times 12 or anything like that, can anybody tell me what evenly divides into all 3 terms on example 4A here? So what goes into 18x squared, negative 33x, and 12? 3, that's right. So we can factor out a 3 from everything. So let's go ahead and do that first. And again, this is kind of the textbook way you would do it. And that's going to give us 6x squared minus 11x plus 4. Now, you can see that is going to make our numbers a lot easier. Instead of adding to negative 33 and multiplying to whatever 12 times 18 is, our numbers got a lot smaller. Here's the problem I've seen in the past when people do it this way is they'll forget about the 3 in their final answer. So we're going to go ahead and make sure we don't do that here, okay? So I'm going to kind of make an arrow down to where I'm going to put my final answer and just put that 3. So we're going to have 3 times some binomial times some other binomial, okay? That's how our answer is going to look at the end, okay? Easy to forget the 3. All right, but now we're just going to pretty much ignore that 3 and focus on what's in the parentheses, okay? We're going to treat it just like the ones we did yesterday. So we want to know first, and you can't do anything without these numbers, what adds up to negative 11, because that's B, and also what multiplies to not 4, but what multiplies to what? What do we want? We don't want 4. We want what? 24. 4 times 6. Good. Again, that was a big change from what we did in 8.5. Okay. Now we just think about them until we come up with them. So I'll let you guys think about it for a second. So adds to negative 11, multiplies to positive 24. Avery? Negative 8, negative 3. Very good. Okay, and again, we can't skip this step with these that don't start with 1x squared. We have to do factor by grouping. So I'm just going to rewrite the trinomial as a 4-term polynomial, 6x squared minus 3x minus 8x plus 4. All right, and then we just go from there. So again, looking at my front 2 terms, I could pull out from there a 3x. And that would give me, in the parentheses, 2x minus 1. And from the last 2 terms, so we know it's 4, but would it be minus 4 or positive 4 that we would factor out in this case? Any thoughts on that? How about this? Why would it be negative 4 and not positive 4? Nobody? You guys are looking at other stuff. That's the problem. Hey, guys, can you put your eyes up here? Anybody tell me why the GCF on the last 2 terms is negative 4 and not plus 4? Yeah, we want the lead term to always be positive. So you take out the sign of the lead term, and you might put a note about that if you weren't able to easily answer that. So we're going to say -4, and that's going to give me 2x minus 1. Okay, so then my factors are 2x minus 1 and 3x minus 4. And then again, people tend to, this is a common mistake, forget about the 3, okay? So we made sure we didn't because we put it on there at the end, okay? So that's the textbook way to do it. Factor out the 3 first, but you don't have to do it that way. So let's just say we're going to do example B here, and we don't notice that 4 divides evenly into everything, okay? If we don't notice that, okay, what happens? It's fine, but let's just see, okay? So let's say we don't notice, again, that there's a GCF, all right? Is that okay? All right. So then we would say, if we don't notice there's a GCF, then we would say, all right, what adds up to -36 and multiplies to what? Not -20, but negative. You guys can use a calculator here. What was it? -160. Very good. You might need a calculator to answer some of these questions. All right. So that combination would be, it's going to end up being, let's see, what is it? 4 and 40. So it'd be +4, -40. -40, +4. Okay, so then we kind of split it up. So we go 8n squared minus 40n plus 4n minus 20. And again, this is not the way the textbook would tell you to do it. They would tell you to take that GCF out first. But again, we're just saying, what if we don't notice the GCF? Okay. One problem would be you're dealing with bigger numbers like 160 and 36, but we'll see that it still works. Okay. So now we factor by grouping. Can anybody tell me what the GCF of the lead pair is? What can I take out of 8n squared and minus 40n? 8 what? 8n, good. And that's going to give me 1n minus 5. And then out of the rear pair, out of the last pair, I can factor out a, anybody know? 4, good. I like how you said 4 and not -4 there. And that would give me n minus 5. Okay, so my two factors are n minus 5 and 8n plus 4. Now, that is correct, but MathXL is not going to take it because which factor has a GCF? The first factor, right? What can I factor out of the first factor? 4, right? So now we can notice the 4. It might even be easier to notice the 4 at the end, right? So it's probably easier to tell 4 divides into 8n and 4 than all 3 of those, okay? So point being, you can divide it out at the end. You just have to remember to do it, okay? So MathXL wouldn't accept this, but they would accept, 4 times 2n plus 1 times 1n minus 5. So you choose what makes more sense to you, right? To me, I would probably do it the first way only because it makes your numbers smaller when you're doing the hard work, but that's a personal preference thing, and you can do it either way, okay? All right, so let me give you a similar one. I'll give you about 2.5 minutes to get as far as you can. And there is going to be a GCF either at the beginning or at the end, okay? So you should have a number times a binomial times a binomial. That should be the form of your answer at the end of the day. After this, we will get into Math Excel Q&A stuff. If anybody happens to already be done, then you could get a head start on tomorrow's extra credit thing. I'd love to see you guys working together through this because it's not easy, right? This is the stuff that I told you I could give my Algebra 2 honors classes these problems, and there would be a lot that would struggle, okay? So you're learning hard stuff right now. Sometimes you got to rely on your teammates. So anybody who's doing it the textbook way, kind of make sure we have at least something to start with. What's the GCF that we can divide out of every term on this one? Anybody have that? Just the GCF, just the number. 2. Yeah, 2 divides into everything, so we can divide them all by 2. If you want to do it that way, you don't have to. But again, look how much smaller my numbers get, right? With this way, we just got to remember the 2 is part of our final answer. That's one of our factors. All right, so that's about the end of your work time. So I just wanted you to get the feel of, kind of doing one on your own. Anybody who's doing it like me, so you factored out the 2 first, have you figured out what my 2 factors are that multiplied in -60 and add to +7? Anybody know those 2? Avery? -5, +12, that would work. Very good, nice job. I really needed that one because I was having a brain fart and I couldn't think of it. So thanks for bailing me out there, Avery. All right, so once we have that, then remember we're ignoring the 2. We kind of know that's part of our final answer, and we're just looking at kind of this part here. So we just make it a 4-termer. So 15c squared minus 12c plus 5c minus 4. Okay, so out of my first couple terms, I could factor a 3c. And that's going to give me 5c minus 4. And then again, on your last 2 terms, there is no common factor. So we would just say plus 1 times those 2 terms. Yes? -5, +4. Yes, it would be. Yes. Yeah. So I did that wrong. Thank you, Kylie. I think that's what you. That's probably what you said, Avery. I don't know. I probably wrote it down wrong. So Kylie, thank you. So yeah, so the correction was there, and we would have ultimately kind of gotten this wrong, but Kylie kind of saved us from going too far there. I think I wrote it down wrong, but it should be positive 12 because it adds to +7. So the 12 should have been the positive. Thank you, Kylie, for catching that early on, not letting me get too far till I found my mistake. So I'm going to change this to a plus sign and this to a minus sign. All right, and again, thank you. So that'll make our signs work better. So factor out a 3c from the first couple, and that's going to give me 5c plus 4. And then that does make the last GCF a little bit tougher. What would I factor out from the last 2 to make it 5c and plus 4? Anybody know how to do that? You guys are just working on your homework. That's what you're doing. This is where you learn stuff, though. You factor out a -1. So you do -1, and that flips both your signs, 5c plus 4. So we have 5c plus 4 and 3c minus 1. All right, so that would be it. And again, this will be the day 2 video. If you're going to look back at it, these would be kind of your toughest. This could be your toughest problem on the test, right? Where you have a GCF and then still a coefficient that's not 1. Anyways, hopefully this helps. We'll start. I'll start taking homework questions.